There is a deep longing in every woman to be seen, to be heard, and to be loved exactly as she is. Not for what she does, not for how much she gives, but for who she truly is underneath all the roles she plays. Louise Hay often reminded us that the love we seek must begin within, that the more we love and accept ourselves, the more life mirrors that love back to us. But for many women, especially those who have spent years putting everyone else first, that self-love feels like a distant dream. We're taught from a young age to be quiet, agreeable, accommodating, to shrink ourselves to avoid conflict, to keep the peace at the expense of our own voice. Over time, this becomes our default. We smile when we want to cry. We say yes when our heart is begging for a no. We pretend to be fine when inside we are crumbling, and slowly, almost without realizing it, we become invisible to ourselves. Louise believed that this disconnection from our truth is the root of emotional pain. That anxiety, sadness, and even physical illness often arise when we silence our inner voice. She encouraged women to speak gently but honestly, first to themselves and then to the world. Because healing begins when we tell the truth about what we feel, even if no one else is listening yet. Imagine a woman standing in front of a mirror. She sees the lines on her face, the weight of her experiences, the softness she's tried to harden. She doesn't criticize or turn away. Instead, she meets her own eyes and says, "I see you, I hear you, I love you." This isn't vanity, it's power. It's returning to the core of who she is, beyond the expectations, beyond the performance. This kind of self-connection takes practice. It starts with awareness, with noticing the ways you abandon yourself daily, with catching the moments you dismiss your own needs or downplay your own pain. Then, gently, it's about choosing something different, speaking up instead of staying silent, resting instead of pushing through, saying yes to yourself without guilt. Louise taught that every thought we think is creating our future. So what if today you began to think thoughts that made you feel seen, heard, and loved? What if instead of waiting for someone else to validate your worth, you chose to do it for yourself first? And you, have you ever stopped to notice the ways you silence your own voice? What would it feel like to begin listening again? If something in this message resonates with your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters here. And if you feel it's time to be more of who you truly are, stay with us. This journey is yours, and you don't have to walk it alone. Many women have spent so much of their lives focused on being what others need, that they've forgotten how to be who they are. Over time, this constant performing becomes exhausting. You wake up already tired, not just in your body, but in your soul. And the worst part is, you're not even sure why. Louise Hay often said that when we are disconnected from our truth, life feels heavy. But when we return to ourselves, even in the smallest ways, everything begins to shift. There is no need to make a dramatic change overnight. In fact, unhealing rarely happens in big, loud ways. It happens quietly. It begins when a woman pauses long enough to ask herself, "What do I really feel right now?" and gives herself permission to answer honestly. That simple act can be life-changing, because in a world that's always asking you to be more and do more, give more, choosing to just be is a radical thing. You might feel guilt at first. That's normal. Guilt often comes when we start breaking free from patterns that no longer serve us. When we stop prioritizing everyone else and begin listening to our own needs, the old voice of conditioning gets louder. It tells you that you're being selfish, dramatic, or weak. But Louise taught that guilt is just a thought, and like any thought, it can be changed. Begin by noticing your internal dialogue. Are your thoughts kind, or are they critical? Are you cheering yourself on or tearing yourself down? Most of us speak to ourselves in ways we'd never speak to someone we love. But the truth is, you deserve the same compassion you offer to others, especially from yourself. Try this. The next time you feel overwhelmed, place your hand on your heart and say gently, "I'm doing the best I can, and that's enough." It might feel strange at first, but your body hears you. Your nervous system relaxes when you speak to it with kindness. With time, these simple moments of self-support begin to build a new foundation, one rooted in self-trust instead of self-doubt. Remember, you are not here to be perfect. You are here to be real. And being real means being honest about what you need, even if that makes others uncomfortable. Louise believed that healing begins when we choose ourselves, with love, not shame, and that every act of self-honor ripples outward, giving others permission to do the same. There is a quiet strength in a woman who no longer betrays herself to keep the peace, in a woman who chooses peace within, even if it disrupts the expectations around her. That strength doesn't come from force, it comes from truth, and your truth is worthy of being lived. There's a reason why so many women reach a point in life where they feel disconnected, even if everything looks fine on the surface. The career is stable, the family is intact, the routine is predictable, yet deep inside, something feels empty. That quiet ache is not a sign of failure. It's your soul trying to get your attention. Louise Hay believed that we are not meant to simply exist, but to live with intention and presence. And when we ignore our inner needs, we begin to drift away from our own center. So many women have been conditioned to measure their value by how much they accomplish or how well they meet others' expectations. They wear smiles that don't reach their eyes. They stay busy to avoid silence, because in the silence, uncomfortable truths might surface. But healing asks for stillness. It invites you to listen, not to the noise outside, but to the whisper within. One of the most powerful shifts a woman can make is choosing to pause. Not to escape life, but to reconnect with it. Pause before reacting. Pause before saying yes out of guilt. Pause before ignoring your own needs again. That pause creates space, and in that space, something sacred happens. You begin to hear yourself again. Louise taught that every thought we think contributes to our life story. So many of our thoughts are unconscious, shaped by old beliefs that no longer serve us. Thoughts like, "I'm not good enough," or "I have to keep everyone happy," become background noise that influences everything. But once we bring those thoughts into awareness, we have the power to change them. Start with simple awareness. Notice what you say to yourself when you make a mistake. Pay attention to how you speak to your reflection in the mirror. Are you offering yourself grace or judgment? Are you seeing yourself through the lens of compassion or through outdated beliefs that were never yours to carry? You don't have to fight those old thoughts. Fighting them gives them more power. Instead, gently replace them. Choose new words that feel soft but strong. Say to yourself, "I am safe now. I am learning to trust myself. I am allowed to grow at my own pace." These statements are not just affirmations. They are acts of emotional reprogramming. They send new messages to your mind and body, messages rooted in safety, not fear. As you practice these new thoughts, you'll notice subtle shifts. Your breath becomes deeper. Your reactions become slower. Your choices become more aligned. These small changes are signs that you are returning to yourself. Not the version shaped by survival, but the version shaped by love. Being seen, heard, and loved starts with how you show up for yourself. The more you choose truth over habit, compassion over criticism, the more you begin to feel whole again. Healing does not require you to fix yourself. It invites you to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Louise Hay taught that the body holds on to pain when the mind continues to repeat the same unkind stories. That is why true change begins not by forcing yourself to become someone new, but by releasing the weight of who you thought you had to be. Many women live under a quiet pressure to stay in control, to hold everything together, to anticipate every need, solve every problem, and smile through it all. But underneath that strength, there is often a deep fatigue, not just physical, tiredness, but emotional exhaustion. The kind that comes from never feeling fully safe to rest. Safety is essential for healing, not just external safety, but inner safety. Feeling like it is okay to soften, to not have all the answers, to make mistakes, to feel your feelings without fear of being judged. Louise often spoke of the power of creating a mental atmosphere of peace, a space inside where you are allowed to be exactly as you are. Begin by giving yourself permission to slow down. Even if it is just for a few minutes, find moments throughout your day where you can pause and breathe. Instead of reaching for your phone or checking your to-do list, try asking yourself, what do I need right now? This question opens the door to self-connection, and self-connection is the root of all healing. Sometimes the answer might be rest. Other times, it might be movement, water, silence, or company. Trust that whatever arises is valid. You don't need a perfect morning routine or a spiritual checklist. You just need to be present with yourself, moment by moment. Louise believed that every small act of love towards yourself sends a message to your subconscious mind. It says, I am worth caring for. I am safe now. These messages matter. Well, they begin to overwrite the old programming of fear, guilt, and unworthiness. Over time, you begin to notice that your reactions change. You feel less triggered. You breathe more deeply. You respond instead of reacting. And when those old patterns do return, as they sometimes will, you greet them with understanding instead of shame. You say, I see you. I know why you're here, but I don't need you to protect me anymore. That is the voice of the healed self, not because all pain is gone, but because you no longer abandon yourself when pain shows up. You are allowed to be soft and strong, to be healing and whole at the same time, to honor your past without being trapped by it. This is what Louise meant when she said that self-approval and self-acceptance are the keys to positive change. You do not have to prove your worth. You only need to remember it. There is a quiet revolution that happens inside a woman when she finally decides to stop waiting to be chosen, waiting to be appreciated, waiting for life to slow down or for someone else to see her pain. Louise Hay often said that we cannot wait for the outside world to give us what we refuse to give ourselves. The healing begins when we choose to show up for ourselves, even if no one else does. This decision doesn't always come with fireworks or bold declarations. Sometimes it arrives in the smallest moment. A woman stands in her kitchen, overwhelmed, heart pounding, and instead of pushing herself harder, she steps outside, feels the sun on her face, and breathes. In that moment, she remembers. She has a choice. That choice is power. One of the most overlooked parts of healing is giving ourselves permission to be seen by ourselves. So many women are visible to others only through what they do, how well they serve, how hard they work, or how much they give. But to truly heal, we must first see ourselves not as roles we play, but as souls we are meant to honor. Take a moment to think about the parts of yourself you've hidden to fit in. Your softness, your dreams, your voice, your needs. Louise believed that anything we feel we must hide becomes a source of suffering, and the way to dissolve that. Suffering is through gentle honesty, not by shouting our truth into the world, but by whispering it first to ourselves. It's okay if you don't know exactly who you are right now. Rediscovery takes time. The years you spent meeting everyone else's expectations cannot be undone in a single day. But every time you choose to check in with yourself, to ask what you feel, to listen with care, you are returning to your center. Louise often invited people to look in the mirror and say, "I love you. I really, really love you." At first, it feels strange. For many, it feels like a lie, but the mirror does not judge. It simply reflects. And over time, those words begin to take root. They begin to heal the wounds left by years of self-neglect. Your healing will not look like anyone else's. Some days will feel clear and grounded. Others may feel foggy and confusing. That's not a sign that you are failing. It's a sign that you are doing the real work, the work of showing up again and again for yourself. No one can do this part for you, but you are more capable than you know. You have the wisdom inside you already, the soft strength, the quiet knowing. It's been there all along, waiting for you to listen. Even when you feel lost, your soul remembers the way. And every time you choose yourself, you are finding your way home. There is something profoundly healing about learning to let go, not because you give up, but because you choose peace over pressure. Louise Hay often reminded us that holding on to old pain, resentment, or fear is like carrying around a heavy bag that weighs down our entire lives. It slows us, it drains us, and it blocks the natural flow of joy. But when you begin to release those old burdens, you create space for something new to grow. Letting go is not forgetting. It's not pretending the pain didn't happen. It's allowing yourself to move forward without being held hostage by the past. It's acknowledging that what happened hurt, but it no longer has the power to define who you are. Many women hold on to guilt, shame, or grief for years without realizing how deeply it affects their well-being. These emotions can become part of the background noise of daily life, subtly shaping every choice and thought. Louise believed that forgiveness is the pathway to freedom, not just forgiving others, but also ourselves. So often we replay moments where we think we should have known better, acted faster, spoken louder, or stayed quiet. We punish ourselves with old stories, forgetting that healing begins with grace. Grace says, "I did the best I could with what I knew at the time." That statement alone can release years of self-blame. Try writing a letter to yourself from a place of understanding, not to judge or criticize, but to recognize your own courage. Write to the version of you who stayed when things were hard, the one who kept going even when she was tired, the one who did what she had to do. As you write, notice how your heart begins to soften. That softening is healing in motion. Letting go also means releasing the need to control everything. So many women feel responsible for everyone's happiness. They carry the emotional weight of their families, their work, and their relationships. But true peace comes when we recognize what is ours to carry and what is not. You are not responsible for other people's healing. You can support, love, and offer presence, but you cannot walk their path for them. One simple practice Louise encouraged was using the affirmation, "I release all that no longer serves me with love and gratitude." Repeat it often, whisper it when anxiety rises, say it in the mirror, write it in your journal. Let it become a rhythm inside you. It is a reminder that you are allowed to grow beyond your past. You are allowed to change. The more you release, the lighter you become, not just emotionally, but physically. You sleep better. You smile more. You begin to feel free in your own body again. And in that freedom, you rediscover who you truly are, beyond the wounds, beyond the fear, beyond the pressure to be anything other than yourself. Every step you take toward release is a return to yourself. You are not becoming someone new. You are remembering who you've always been. Somewhere inside, every woman lives a version of herself that is calm, confident, and deeply grounded. That version may feel distant or buried beneath years of stress and anxiety, but it has never left. Louise Hay believed that healing doesn't require becoming someone else. It simply asks that we come home to ourselves. The most powerful change begins when we stop resisting what we feel and start listening to it instead. Anxiety often shows up when we feel unsafe to be ourselves. When we've spent years trying to meet expectations, avoiding conflict, or shrinking so others could shine, the body remembers that strain. It whispers through tightness in the chest, restless nights, and racing thoughts. But those signals are not signs of weakness. They are messages calling you back to alignment. You are not broken. You are responding to years of unmet emotional needs. What would happen if, instead of fighting anxiety, you welcomed it, not to let it control? You is but to understand it. Imagine telling yourself, I hear you. I'm here. Let's breathe through this together. That small moment of self-compassion can shift everything. Louise taught that the way we speak to ourselves shapes our reality. Every kind word becomes a thread in the fabric of self-healing. The truth is, anxiety begins to dissolve when we no longer fear it, when we see it as a signal instead of a threat. You don't need to force yourself to be calm. You don't have to pretend everything is fine. It's enough to be honest, to say, I'm feeling anxious right now, and I choose to care for myself anyway. That is emotional strength. That is healing in action. You might not feel the change all at once, but every time you slow down, place your hand on your heart, and speak with love, you are rewiring your nervous system. You are creating new pathways that tell your body it is safe, that it is loved, that it belongs. This is not about perfection. It is about presence, being with yourself, moment by moment, with gentleness and respect. Louise always reminded us that we are the thinkers of our thoughts, that we have the power to choose again and again and again. When fear rises, you can choose love. When doubt appears, you can choose trust. When anxiety tries to take over, you can choose calm. These are not magical moments. They are deliberate decisions. They are your power in motion. And so, now, as you move forward, carry this with you. You don't need to struggle to heal. You don't need to have all the answers. You only need to be willing to pause, willing to listen, willing to treat yourself with the same kindness you've always given to others. If this message spoke to you in any way, feel free to share your experience in the comments. Your voice may be the light someone else needs today. And if this content supported your heart, consider subscribing to stay connected. You are not alone on this path. We are healing together, one breath at a time.